it's always good just to take a little bit of time and look back on how God's been at work here in the last 12 months. We're going to give you a financial update so you see what the numbers look like and how we're doing financially. We're going to let you know what we have, what we're looking at as the leadership for our priorities for the church for the next 12 months, and then we'll give you a building update, okay? So that's the 4 points on the agenda. So this is 2018 at a glance, and it looks lovely because Kathy Kroll makes things look lovely. Thank you, Kathy. So over here, she kind of put the regular stuff that was going on with kids' small group and the men's Thursday morning discipleship and student ministries happening and Burgers and Bros regularly. Women's study went through the book of Philippians back last January. We celebrated our 10th anniversary. The elders and wives had their annual retreat. The Breitensteins joined us for one of our missions moments in March, and we had this meeting a year ago in March. So that's what the first quarter looked like. And then we got to April. We had our men's retreat, had a great time. We had a prayer and praise service that was new. We introduced Matthew and Pauline Frederick as new members. The ladies' night of worship happened back in April. We dedicated 7 babies back in May, and we say, wow, but this year it's going to be like we dedicate 40, I think. So here's who got dedicated last year. Isn't that sweet to see those names up there? God bless those kids. We had our missions moment with the Wells from Italy. We welcomed Rob and Grace Harris as new members, and Randall Vandenberg was ordained as a new deacon back in May. June, we had our church baptism. The Chens were baptized a year ago in June. We had our Summer Kids Fest in June and July. Alex and Marie Stoffer were acknowledged as new members. The Woodrows were on for our missions moment. And here's a picture of the trustees of the church signing a construction loan with Arvest Bank. So that's where we put our names on the line for this. We approved the construction. We welcomed the Wests and the Thomases as new members. The Neffs were here with us and shared a missions moment. And we had our summer church pool party as well. Yes, you look like you were going to say something. You're not? Okay. August, we welcomed the Waits as new members. We went out and had our David O'Dodd. You remember this picture right here? All of us out on the land praying a prayer of dedication over that land as we broke ground back in September. We welcomed the Leatherwoods as new members. The ladies went through the Sermon on the Mount study, and we had a Skype with the majors in October. We also had in October, the Art of Parenting classes that we began. We helped out with the IFO dinner. Women's had their stay treat with the True Woman 18 event, and then our fall picnic was canceled because of weather. Brings us to November. The Breitensteins back with a missions moment. I know, isn't that cute? Yeah, so we've got Violet and Beckett's first birthday, which was a big deal. And then we've got a picture down here of us down at David O'Dodd helping out and serving the teachers lunch. The Trouts and the Estes became new members. Bob Bennett was here for a concert. We talked to Henry Lynn from Little Door. We did the Tacky Christmas party, the annual Christmas tea, David O'Dodd elementary teachers, and Violet and Beckett. Pretty good year, huh? I mean, it's just nice to look back on all of that. So that's what the activities looked like. Let's talk about the money. Tim's going to come up, and come on up here. I'll walk us through this. And Tim will tell the stuff that I don't know and fill in the gaps for me here, okay? So currently, this is how much money we have in the bank, $275,000. Check next month, and that'll be gone, okay? Because it's going quick because we're writing big checks for construction.
In a couple of days, it'll be gone.
There you go, a couple of days. You don't have to wait till next month. That's what we got in the bank. The value of our land, that's still, we're still valuing that at what we paid for it. So our 20 acres we bought for $392,272. I think the land value has increased now that we're improving it, but we'll count it at that. Constructions to date, we have committed $880,000 to construction, right?
That's correct.
And that brings our total assets to $1.55 million, okay? So you understand assets, it's money in the bank plus the value of the stuff you own. Those are your assets. Those are our current assets. Now, our operating expenses, this is budget versus actual. Can you read the little numbers there in the back? Okay. So we budgeted 167 in operating expenses. We actually spent 165, so we came in $2,300 under budget. Good budgeting, right? Missions expenses, we budgeted 60,500. We spent 63,800, so we were over budget on missions expenses. Yeah, right? You like that. Ministry expenses, so this is the cost of like signs up around the church, curriculum you're buying for stuff, curriculum for the kids, and it's that stuff that's ministry. We budgeted $30,000. We spent $30,000. We were over budget $301. Okay, and that means our total budget, we budgeted $258,400. We ended up $259,600, so we were $1,200 over budget. That's pretty decent from a budgeting standpoint, right? Anything you want to add to that?
No, I was real pleased with how it came out. Tom gave me a hard time that I'd missed it by $1,231.
Yeah.
He reminded me that when he did this, we were always under budget.
Yeah, and what you guys don't know is that the chairman of the elders has to make up whatever the over budget is, so thank you for that, Tim. So our 2018 missions budget, that should actually say 2019 missions budget. This is what we have budgeted. I think the slide.
Actually, we were just looking at 2018 now.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's correct.
So money for the wells in Italy, for Little Door in Myanmar, for the Woodrows in Mozambique, for the Neffs in Vietnam, Kirk and Jennifer Perrette in China, and then Janelle and John Breitenstein, who Uganda, Colorado, and then all parts of the world. We also have $5,500 budgeted for local outreach, and the ministry selection of that is to be determined.
Exactly, and we for 2019 we moved that up $5,000. So the missions budget went up from $60,500. This year it'd be $65,500. So,
okay. Any questions about that? Brings us to the 5-year giving summary. So here's what you've given over a 5-year period. Back in 2014, $450,000 given that year. The next year, it was $456,000. The next year, a bunch of people moved, and we were down $100,000 in giving that year. And then it bounced back up in 2017, and last year, $540,000. So it was the biggest giving year we've had, and it was $90,000, $85,000 over the best year yet. Very grateful to you guys for making that happen. And again, a lot of what's there is what enabled us to be able to say yes and move forward with the construction project. That's it on finances. What do you want to add to that report?
yeah, the only thing I would add is if you look at the budget numbers in terms of operating expense, ministry expense, and missions, and then you look at the giving, you're going, well, what in the world did you do with all that? Well, we saved it so that we could do a building program. So we had about $900,000 to put into the project, which was great, and we owned the land. So in that sense, we had about 1.2 to 1.3 on a loan or on a building project. The building itself runs about 2.4. So we had that money saved thanks to, your generosity. And I just want to say thanks so much for an outstanding year of giving, which has really helped us a lot as we've moved forward and as we moved and signed that note.
Yeah.
It's just really special. So thank you.
And Tim has, for the last year, served as chairman of the elders and continued to lead us well, and we're grateful for your service in that regard. And then Laura, over the last year, served us very well for the last, 5 years? Were you treasurer for 5 years? 6 years, serving as treasurer until the babies were born, and she said, I can't do twins and the budget at the same time.
So she did it for another year.
That's right.
But it's time to give her a break. And I just want to add as well, just her training and also her experience in the accounting world has served us well. And she has graciously agreed to help us in the transition to move that to Walter Hill, the treasurer position or treasurer duties, and has graciously agreed to be there to help consult with us from time to time as we need her expertise.
Thank you, Laura.
Big shout out to you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else budget-wise?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is if you look at the numbers, we don't have them all put together. I've put them together, but we'll need to get them approved by the elders. I want the deacons to look at them as well. But if you look at our budget for this next year, from an expense standpoint, it'll go up very significantly. So you saw a number of 260. That's going to go up fairly dramatically, and here's the reasons for that. For example, this year we'll have a number of months where we'll be paying rent. And as we draw down on that $1.5 million loan, which we'll draw that down completely in about 6 months, we'll be paying interest on that. So you have a combination of living here, paying rent. Anybody ever sell a house and then you had to continue to pay your house and you bought another one or you rented? We're in a little bit of that. That's not a surprise to us. We planned for that. That's not a shock, but we will see the budget go up significantly. I think there'll be about $45,000 worth of rent or of interest expense this year. And that just continues. I guess what I'm trying to communicate is your giving on a regular basis consistently is a huge help to us.
Yeah.
And while we've been able to operate from a position of working well ahead of our expenses and saving for an event like this, this is going to be a little tougher this year. Just continue, excel still more. That's all I'm saying. Just continue to give. The other thing is if we could put the slide up of the 5-year giving.
Right there.
Okay. Just so you know, we're not acting irresponsibly. It's possible that our budget this year, instead of being 260, may be closer to that middle number there under 2016. But just so you know,
What he's saying is that we may spend that much for operating expenses this year.
yeah, and so all that to say, even on the lowest year over the last 6 or 7 years, I expect our operating budget to fit within about the lowest year we've had there. So it takes a lot of faith to move out like this, but you also don't want to be presumptuous. So we're trying to run that right, so to speak, and just give you an idea of the fact that it's going to go up significantly. And I appreciate everybody's contributions, and we're confident that God will, that this will be a good adventure.
Anybody who would say, I'd like to dig deeper on financial stuff, Tim, Walter, Laura, any of us are happy to sit down with you and open up whatever you want to see books-wise, just to see where money goes and how it operates. So if that's a question or concern, let us know, and we can dig deeper on that. Okay? Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about priorities for the year ahead. So elders and wives get together in January every year, end of January, and part of our time there is to seek the Lord and just say, Lord, what should we be about? What are the issues? What are the things that we need to be addressing going forward from a ministry standpoint? Clearly, this is one of those things that's going to be a priority for us this year, the move, and there's a lot associated with the move. So just today I was talking with Grant, and he said, yeah, when we're done, Ben Friesen and I are headed out because they're doing the wiring for the internet at the new building. So they're laying wiring. So there are countless little things like that. There have been meetings with the audiovisual team to talk about what our needs are going to be there. Tom is regularly in contact with the builders, so are others who are involved. Malia Edwards is working on color schemes and decor and things like that. Just there's a lot going on with the move that you got to say, we got to focus on this, so we're in a season of time where that'll be a big part of the focus. Tied to the move, the whole issue of how we welcome and connect with visitors is something that we've got to make sure we are equipped for this year. So we've been talking about, should we have a Meet the Pastor lunch, or not a lunch, but just a stand-up, eat cookies and drink punch every week. So if visitors come afterwards, you can go to the mirror room and meet the pastor and have some cookies and ask whatever questions. We'll give you your free gift there. Do we need to start doing that on a regular basis? We're seeing, is that the right rhythm? Are people going to be interested in that. And then do we do a monthly or a quarterly lunch with visitors? What can we do that's a better job of, here's what I would say. You guys do a great job of welcoming visitors, guests who are here with us. You are warm, you are friendly. I don't think anybody ever comes to Redeemer and leaves and goes, that was an unfriendly place. People just didn't talk to me. I mean, you not only introduce yourselves, but you ask questions. Where are you from? How'd you hear about the church? What do you do? You act like you're interested in the people who come. That's a good thing. I think there's a gap from there to somebody going to new members classes. And we're trying to figure out how do we fill in that gap best. If you've got ideas or thoughts, or you go, that's something I'd love to give some help on, let us know. Because we think this is one of those things that needs to be addressed over the next 12 months. Because we expect when we move into the new building, we expect we will see a lot of people visiting a lot more regularly than we're seeing upstairs above the revenue office. It's just going to be easier for folks to come. It's going to feel less awkward for folks who are not typical churchgoers, okay? Here's next, more spiritual growth options in the year ahead. So the men's retreat is coming up, which is, we're trying to make that a regular event. Again, we want that to be a good spiritual growth option. We're talking about doing a summer seminar Monday nights in June and July, and this would be open to anybody who wants to come, but 8 weeks that would be an overview of systematic theology. We'd go through a book together that would give you a layman's look at the big issues from theology. We want to provide opportunities like that for folks who would say, I'd like to go a little deeper. I know when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was hungry for that, and there weren't a lot of church opportunities for that, so I was doing it on cassette tapes, which cassette tapes are little things that used to, no, I won't go there, okay? But that's how I was learning a lot, so we'd like to provide some opportunities for that. The Women's Fall Retreat, there are plans, they're not in concrete yet, but planning is happening now for a Women's Fall Retreat. These are just some of the spiritual growth options. And as you say, you know, here's something I'd be interested in, or here's something I think we can do to help grow people spiritually. We'd love to talk with you about it. We'd love to hear about it. I love what Keith and are doing with the study on Genesis. Those kinds of things are great opportunities just to provide options for spiritual growth, okay? We are reviewing children's ministry as we get ready for a move. We're talking about, do we need to revise curriculum, and in what areas do we need to revise curriculum? Some of the curriculum we've got, we're starting to loop back around and reuse. We're saying, do we need something fresh? Because kids are going, I've heard that before. So we're looking at that. Do we adjust Super Sunday and Sunday Superb? So we've been talking about the possibility of Super Sunday being every week as opposed to every other week. We will have space for that in our new place. Will we have teachers for that? That's a big part of the question. And is that the right rhythm? I'm talking 5 to 8 year olds. If they are in the worship service until the teaching time and they're dismissed every week, is that better than what we're currently doing? And then what about Sunday Superb? Should we keep that on an every other week basis, or so we're looking at that, praying about that. We'd love your input on those kinds of things. And then updating our nursery routine. And here's what I mean by that. This is our nursery suite in the new building. So as you come out of, this is where you come into the church, and there's a hallway down here, got an office area here, but as you come back in here and you turn to the right, we've got the nursery, we've got what's called Toddler 1, I think that's Creepers Crawlers, Toddler 2, did I call that wrong? Creepers and Crawlers, isn't that what you call them? So these are the rocking babies?
Just
Crawlers, not creepers?
Not creepy crawlers.
And then this would be even older kids. Here you get into preschool, so 2 to 4 year olds might be here or might be in this classroom. Anyway, we just got to figure out best utilization of this space and how we're going to break it down. If you haven't noticed, there are a lot of babies coming our way, and we just want to make sure our facility is ready for it and our staffing is ready for it. So it's a part of what we need going forward. Again, if you've got things where you say, here's what we need for the nursery, just know that when you come forward with that, we're going to recruit you to be a part of the answer, not just raising the question, okay? But come forward and help us be a part of the solution for these things. Did you have a question? Oh, I thought you were pointing like you had a question. Okay. Anybody question about any of that? So review children's ministry is a part of what we want to do. And then we're talking about a combined youth ministry or student ministry option, not as a full-time option, but Matt has been talking with Covenant Press about maybe once a month, our youth group and their youth group getting together for some kind of a combined activity, maybe doing retreats together. We're looking around and saying, I don't think Midtown Baptist has got any kids that are youth group age yet, but they're gonna pretty soon. Can we do something combined and include them in that? We're looking for like-minded churches where we might be able on a regular basis to get kids in a bigger, broader youth group setting. So if you've got thoughts about that, talk to Matt about that, all right? And then I'm clicking. You want to go to the next one? Can you do that? We're planning on regular prayer times together. So June 30th, we'll be praying together. We're going to have an all-church prayer meeting at the new building. It will not be constructed, and we may tell you to bring your own lawn chair, and we may sit around but we want to pray in and through that building as it's still in construction. So we'll do that on June 30th, Sunday evening, and then September 29th, we will hopefully be in the new building, and we'll have our first prayer time, a prayer get-together on a Sunday night in the new building. Yes? Oh. I thought if you scratch your head, you're buying. And then community outreach options. This is something we've been talking about. So I talked this morning a little bit about the Christianity Explored. There's a program called the Alpha Program, another one called the Bridge. Q Place is one. These are for people who have questions about Christianity. These are programs designed to help you interact with folks who might be new to Christianity. So, for example, we might send out postcards in our zip code that say, have you ever wondered about how do science and the Bible match, or this or that? The things that people in the culture are wondering about that are kind of basic Christian ideas. How good do you have to be to get into heaven? Those kinds of things. We're going to have a meeting at Redeemer at the new church on a Thursday night where you can come and we'll go through an 8-week program to answer some of the common questions. That's a possibility for us as we move into the new facility to have an ongoing class like that. Or do we equip you to have classes like that in your neighborhood and in your home, where you put out flyers and say, have you ever wondered these things? Come to our house, we'll watch a video together, and then we'll take you through it. We'll train you on how to do that. This is a part of what we were talking about this morning, going past the fear line and getting folks engaged, the pain line. Ongoing opportunities at David O'Dodd, we want to explore what those continue to be. Can we do neighborhood events once we're in the building? Can we use our property as a neighbor? Could we do a carnival in our parking lot? What are the liability issues if you do something like that? What are the setup issues if you do something like that? But what could we do that would be an outreach to our neighbors that would say, we want to be good neighbors and come check us out. We want to stay involved with IFO, International Friendship Outreach, as a part of what we do. And then I'll just mention briefly Care Portal. This is something the deacons have just reviewed. The elders have looked at it. This is the best way I can describe this is Uber for humanitarian needs in the community. So the way it works is DHS, Department of Human Services, they're aware of people who are economically distressed, people who are on assistance, who might have a need where somebody who's getting assistance of some sort, their refrigerator goes out. And DHS will contact Care Portal, which is happening here in Little Rock, and they'll say, this person needs a new refrigerator. And then an email would go out to everybody who has signed up for Care Portal, and you'd get an email saying somebody needs a new refrigerator, here's who needs it. And first thing you do is you pray for them, that God will provide for their needs, and then you ask, and Lord, do you want us to do that? Or you go, I've been wondering what we should do with that old refrigerator out in the garage, and you email back and say, we've got the refrigerator if somebody can come pick it up. So it's a way to build a network for the meeting of some of these needs. DHS and Care Portal work to screen the needs so that you don't have somebody scamming you just to get stuff. And then local churches are involved in helping to pray for the meeting of those needs and the actual meeting of those needs. The church doesn't do it, but people in the church just pray. You may get 20 emails and just pray for those folks, and there's nothing that God moves on your heart to lead, but somebody says we need a crib, and you go, we're done having babies, you can have our crib. Okay, that kind of thing. Make sense? So that's one of the things we're exploring. We'll tell you more about it as we figure out what our engagement with that should look like. Eric.
Two questions about the neighborhood. Do we know anything demographically around the neighborhood specifically, say within 1 mile, I don't know, whatever you select, how many of those people actually are attending church currently and how many are not? And, I mean, do we know much about that? And secondly, how many of our current members actually are in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I don't think we've got anybody who lives within a mile. Anybody live within a mile of the church? I don't think so. There are 3 neighborhoods along David O'Dodd, 3 newer updated neighborhoods. There's older housing up and down David O'Dodd. So 3 neighborhoods and then 1 strip of road that's got older housing on it. In the 3 neighborhoods, we don't know about church attendance. We know a little bit about demographics. We can tell on the basis of the cost of the homes, which are somewhere between 180 and 250 in those 3 neighborhoods. So you get some idea of the socioeconomic reality of those neighborhoods. It seems to be mixed ethnicity in those neighborhoods. And other than that, we don't know a whole lot about. The other thing I can tell you is how many vote Republican and how many vote Democrat. Interestingly, or are registered. I don't know how they vote, but I can tell you what their party registration is. So we're doing our scanning to figure out what can we know about our neighbors so that we can know how we can serve them better. Yes, sir.
What other churches are around?
Yeah. Again, within a mile of us, there's a Methodist church that's up the road. I don't know how active or how many folks are coming to that Methodist church. There's not much. There's a fundamentalist. Is it a Baptist church? A King James only Baptist church, I think, that's a nearby neighbor. So Little Rock Church is down on Baseline, right? So it's nearby. And then there's a new church called South City Church that's right around the corner from Little Rock Church. That's some guys who were at Fellowship who went and planted South City Church. So there are a couple of churches in that neighborhood that would be people that we could connect with that would be like-minded, ministry-minded in what we're doing. But if you expand the circle out from a mile to 3 miles, you start to get some of those churches fall in the neighborhood. Okay? All right, so let's talk about making the move. And here's the metaphor I keep using. Do you remember when you moved from living in an apartment in your marriage to living in a house? Maybe some of you went straight to a house, but most of us started off in an apartment, and it was maybe a 1 or a 2 bedroom apartment, and then you needed more space and all of that, so you moved to a new house. And when you moved to the new house, typically the new house you were moving to was bigger than the apartment that you had been in, which was great because you needed more space, but you also didn't have stuff. Like you may have had a bedroom in your new house that didn't have anything in it for 6 months because you didn't need to have anything in it and you didn't have the money for that. Well, that's a little bit of what we got. We're moving from our apartment to our home, and we're moving from 7,000 square feet to 15,000 square feet. And we've got furnishings to cover some of that, but we got a bunch of stuff that won't be covered in the midst of that, and I want to go through that with you. But first, I want you to see our own man on the street, Matt Gurney, as he gives you a 5-minute tour of the construction site. So kill the lights and let's watch what it looks like here.
See all this fun stuff. It's driving around. Foreman driving by. So we're going to buy lots of workers out here finishing up for the day. As you can see, there's gravel all over this parking lot, so it's going to be much easier to drive on, and pretty soon, before we know it, this place will be ready to park in. Coming up on the building, to your left there's a sanctuary. This little opening there where they're sort of working is the entrance to the narthex, and main entrance of the church, and down the end is children's wing. So we'll get to all that here in a minute. We get inside. Okay, well now we are walking into the building, and I'm going to show you a lot of different things, but this is the kind of the entrance, and this is what we call the narthex. You kind of see different ways we go around here, kind of the studs and everything. This is kind of the entryway here. So you can see some of that stuff there. And then we'll walk straight across here. This is the main hallway. You can kind of see on one end things, and right behind me is the open sanctuary. But we walk over this way, straight across from the main entrance. This is what's going to be the family room, and so you can see it's a good spacious room. That behind me is the fireplace. So you can see it right there. There you go. That's where the fireplace is going to go. So lots of fun space in here. Continuing on, we're just going to walk down this hallway, go down to the children's area, and stop by the offices first. This is going to be the reception area right here. Here's an office, and here's an office. Really fun place for us to collect and do this. And we come back around this corner, and we'll see. This is going to be the entrance to the children's area, and so there'll be a check-in station right here. We'll keep our kiddos safe. We come down here and turn right. We're going to get to the quad rooms of kiddos. So we're going to have a baby room, all dedicated to just babies, non-crawlers. And then we're going to have a crawler room, back over here. And then we're going to have a toddler room, right here. And then we're going to have a preschool room, right next door here. And so we continue on down this. Lots more to see. This is another classroom that we could possibly use for Super Sunday or Sunday Superb if we wanted to. It's a long hallway with some large classrooms. This is bathrooms right here, the ladies. Full-size ladies right there, bathroom, and then a men's right next door. And then we've got a couple of big classrooms down here. Pretty long and wide classrooms. We'll go in just a minute. And this is a storage room back here, and there's the back of the building right there. So as you can see, this is a pretty good sized classroom. They've got some ductwork and stuff over there, but it's going to be a really good sized classroom for lots of room for activity and moving around for kids, and opportunities for larger classroom settings too, as well for adults. So we go over here to this other, it's very similar sized, bigger classroom. So they're doing lots of work in here, getting things ready. As you can see, lots of stuff hanging around, but this will be another good sized classroom. You can see it goes all the way back there. So going to be neat to have some extra classroom space for kids, for adults. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be really exciting to be able to have some classes and do some fun things. So we're going to walk all the way back to the building, and we'll have some condenser background noise for it. Work's still going on here at the end of the day. But I'm just going to walk you back through this hallway in the children's wing, down between these two large classrooms. We'll pass the bathrooms and start getting to the little kids area. With the kids section, the little kids section right in front of us, we're going to hang a right. And we're going to head back towards the narthex, go towards the worship center. Alright, well here we are walking in. This will be the main entrance to the worship center, and it's pretty exciting. If you just look around and get excited about how much space this is. We're going to more than double our capacity. It's going to be an incredible place where we can worship Jesus together. Very exciting what all they've done. Lots still to be done. You can see there's Bob's pulpit, I think from when we started. And over here will be our baptistry. That's what it looks like, and it's going to go right up here. we will now be able to baptize on site. Pretty cool. So as I stand here in the middle of this place, what a great joy it's going to be able to fill this place with people that we don't know yet, that are going to come and worship with us. And what a great opportunity it's going to be to invite people into our family of God. So hope you enjoyed this tour. I'm going to take off now, but enjoy.
Yay, Matt. We are planning 2 weeks from today, weather permitting, to try to go down there with our Sharpies and mark all over the building and let you walk around and see the rooms that Matt was showing you and see the progress that's being made down there. Okay? Yes, sir. Ma'am. Sorry.
Do we have a kitchen or a worship hall or anything like that?
Yes. There is a kitchen, there's a cry room, and and more bathrooms.
No fellowship hall specifically, but again, it's a multi-use room where we set up chairs.
It's what we're calling the living room. So the worship center is multi-purpose so that we can take chairs out and put up tables and have lunch like we did today in the worship center. But then we'll also have what we're calling the living room, which is another multi-use for smaller gatherings. You could have your small group in the living room. You could have an adult Sunday school class in the living room. You could have a wedding in the living room. Or in the sanctuary, depending on the size of the wedding party. Okay. All right. So here's what's in the budget, and this is not all that's in the budget. What's in the budget is studs and foundation and air conditioning and wiring and all of that. But as we started going down through the construction and we said, okay, we're running out of budget money, so we said we're going to have a sign up on the road so people can see it. We've said yes to an alarm system. We budgeted $15,000 for that. We're going to have cages and fences built around the heating and air conditioning so that they don't get vandalized regularly. That's going to add some expense. And then bad dirt removal and replace was something we didn't anticipate, but that's in the budget. All of this is covered in the money we got, but what I'm about to show you is what's not covered. So we run out of money before we run out of things we want. Now, let me just, before I show you this list, okay? When we move in, you're going to be thrilled with about 85% of what you see. There's going to be about 15% that you're going to go, who picked that color? Or why did we do this? Or why didn't they put that? I wouldn't have put this there. I'd have done it this way, okay? I know that's going to happen. Focus on the 85% you're thrilled about and let the 15% go. All right? Be grown-ups about this. All right? When we moved into our house, I was thrilled with 85%, but there was stuff that I go, if I'd have built this from the ground up, I'd have done it this way. When we built a house, there was stuff after I'd done building it I wish I'd done differently. That happens. You just got to know that that's going to happen, just adjust to it, and just let it go and don't make a big deal out of it. Can we fix some of it later? Sure we can. But there's also stuff in here that as we looked at this, we said, we got enough money to build this building, but there's some things we would want in the building that we don't have budget money for. And we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and build the building. And if we got to move in and live in it like I lived in my first apartment with cinder block bookcases and with a dining room table that is a card table, right? If that's how you got to live for a while, we'll live that way for a while. If we were opening a brand new business, I would want that business to be beautiful on day one. I'd want all of the wall treatments to be exquisite. I'd want customers to be able to come and go, oh, this is really nice. I wish I could do that for visitors, but instead we're inviting them into our new house, which is not completely done yet, but we're just going to make it as warm as we can for the folks who are coming. So things like these chairs. Would we like, these chairs are 11 years old. Would we like to get new chairs for the sanctuary? Sure, that'd be nice. But we're going to start off on these chairs till we got money for new chairs. And it may be that we say, by the time we got money for these chairs, we go, well, we got other priorities. We'll just stay with these chairs. We're just going to work that stuff out. Now, with all of that said, the list that I'm going to show you of stuff that's not in the budget, you may see something on this list and you may go, oh, I think that's really important. If you got money, give it to us and we'll buy it, okay? Now, if you say, I don't see anything specifically, or you may say, I see things here that I really have a passion and a burden for, but we would go, well, there are other priorities. Well, okay, I'll explain as we go through. So, landscaping. We do have money in the budget for landscaping. We'd like to spend an additional $20,000 beyond what's required by the city to have our landscaping be nice. Some of you may say, we'll do that project. My husband and I would love to do the landscaping work, okay? So that could be a project that you decide to do. Audio. We figure it's going to cost us, our original budget was 40. We're trying to make it work at 30. And for audio, I'm just talking about the sound. So I'm talking about the speakers through which you will hear everything, the microphones, the monitors for the band. So it's just what you hear. We think we've got the budget down from $40,000 to $30,000 to get a good audio system in there. What we don't know yet is what kind of sound treatment we're going to need on the walls to stop some reverberation. We'll fix that and tune it when we get in there, but we've had some estimates done and we think we have an idea. Video and projectors, and I didn't break these down, but it's about half and half. So we've got 2 projectors in our main sanctuary, and the cost for each projector is about $13,000. They're more expensive than this little one. This little one that we've got up here that served us really well isn't going to work in our new room. So we're going to have to spend money on new projectors. Now, you would say, well, isn't that pretty important? Don't we need projectors when we go on a Sunday morning? Yes, I think that's really important. Do we have money for it? No. So what would we do? We'll hand out song sheets when you come in, and you'll sing off the song sheets that week. And what about the PowerPoint? Well, we might not have PowerPoints for a while. And you go what the, oh, I feel bad about that too. So I'm going to be giving some money toward video and projectors, okay? And if you want to give money toward video and projectors, you can too. But if we don't have them, we don't have them. Make sense? Platform lighting. So we will have lighting in the room. And by the way, on all of this stuff, audio, video, projectors, platform lighting, we're going ahead and spending some money to wire these things ahead of buying the gear. Because it's the right time to wire, even if you never wind up putting anything on the other side of the wire. We're putting the wire up to be ready for it on the other side. So platform lighting. This would be called stage lighting or theatrical lighting if you were that. So it's like these, okay? These are our platform lights. It's not the room lights. This is your stage lighting. These won't work in our new facility. You're going to need something a little more than that. We've talked to a company. We can get a nice platform lighting system for $15,000. If we go in and we don't have that, it won't look as nice, but we can still function as a church even though it doesn't look as nice, right? Computers and TVs. So we've got computers and TVs. We're taking over. We don't have a lot, in terms of TVs. But for example, in the Northex, we'd like to have a TV up that is showing what's going on in the main sanctuary so that as folks are arriving, they can see what's going on the TV, or we're flashing announcements on there as you're in the Northex. We'd love to have that. We may not have that when we first show up. We're wiring for it, but we may not have the hardware there yet. Mailings and advertising. So we'd like to be able to do some marketing and advertising when we're out there to our zip code, whether it's mailings, whether it's online, Facebook kind of stuff, whether it's radio related stuff. We'd like to be able to do something. We put some money in the budget for that. Furnishing for the living room. So the living room, which we're thinking of as kind of a Starbucks type vibe, right? We'd like to be able to finish that with some tables and stools and end tables and sofas and all of that. We got 15 grand in the budget for that. Right now we'll take what we have, like we've got some old sofas back here, I think, that we could take over and put over there if we need to. And some of you are going, no, those are awful. Okay, then buy us a new one, okay? Until then, we're going to use the old fold-out one that we got, okay? That's how this works. Toddler furnishings. Now, we do have some toddler furnishings. We'd like to upgrade what we've got in our toddler room. Maybe you'd like for us to upgrade it. Give us some money. We'll do that, okay? Playground, including fencing and equipment. So we figured it cost about 15 grand to put up a playground that would be a fenced gated playground. We'd love to have one of those. And some of you may go, I want to give the money for the playground. So it's possible that we would move in with the playground but not have video yet because of somebody saying that's what I really want to give to. If you go, I just want to see all of this happen, then give money and say it's for the building fund, and we'll try to prioritize that as wisely as we can. But if you go, no, I just really want the playground to happen, okay, give to the playground and we'll have a playground. We may have a playground before we have audio, but that's okay, all right? It could. We're going to need an outbuilding for storage of mowing equipment, etc. $4,000 for that. We're going to need a riding mower. We're going to need a push mower. We're going to need a weed eater. Those things are not in the budget. So, you know what? We'll figure out what to do when the grass grows big. We're planning to move in at the end of the growing season. So we got a little time, but goats. We'll buy goats. Sanctuary chairs. We'd love to have new sanctuary chairs. That's on the list, about $10,000. Again, if we get to that, we'll get to that. The total of unbudgeted stuff is $213,000, 326. Okay? So that's what's not in the budget that we'd like to raise money for. So if we had that money, we'd do all of those things right away. Yes, Don.
Well, it sounds like you actually are offering the opportunity for somebody to designate specifically for a mower, riding mower, and if they give money to that $8,500 riding mower, how do they tell, and does it get into?
Yeah, good question. So legally, from the IRS perspective, you can't give a designated gift that obligates us to buy what you ask for. So, I mean, that's donor-directed giving, which the IRS frowns on. Now, what you can do is you can give us $8,500 and say, my strong desire would be that you'd buy that riding mower. But the final decision rests with the leadership of the church to say, are we going to honor Don's desire, or are we going to make Don really mad at us and spend the money on something else? I can tell you what we will be predisposed to do, which is honoring your desire. But legally, you can't say, this is what I gave the money for and you didn't spend it on that, so you give me my money back. That's just not how the IRS works. Yes?
Can you legally buy the item and then donate it?
Absolutely. Yes, you can buy the item and donate it, and then you can take it off as a tax deduction from yours. So the gifting of that, you would tax deduct that through the IRS, as opposed to giving us the money and then deducting that as a charitable contribution. But you can buy the item. Yes.
Have you considered for the mower weed eating getting
A lawn service. Yeah. And that may be how we do it at first. If we don't have that, that's what we'll probably wind up doing, or we'll tap people who have got. I mean, we'll get somebody who could. You're volunteering to come. Oh, I thought you were saying, I've got a tractor. I'll come mow. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. So, yeah. Muy bueno. Gracias, señora. Yes, ma'am.
So with purchasing the mower, the weed eater, it looks like you're gonna desire to purchase that and have people from the church take care of the property?
Well,
I'm just wondering.
we're trying to put money in the budget that we haven't figured everything out for yet. So how the mowing schedule works, I don't know. Is that people in the church? Do we go to the custodian team that's going to be servicing the building and saying, we'll pay you $50 more a week if you'll do the mowing every time, whatever. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. Yeah, maybe. Yes, ma'am.
Bob, just a clarification. I hope I say this well. That if you're going to donate something, that I'm sure that there is a specification of what would be needed.
Yes.
As far as like a computer or a TV or the toilet furnishings.
Yes.
To check for that first.
Yes, and I think you said that really well. So if you were going to say we want to donate the playground, we ought to talk about what the specs for that playground ought to be, rather than you just running down to Lowe's and buying a playground and say, here's the one we bought, right? So yes, we need to work in concert with whatever the equipment you want. If you said, I want to donate my old mower, we might say we're not really interested in your old mower because it's not very good, right? It's not going to serve our weed eater that we don't use anymore. Maybe we want that, maybe not. So those kinds of things. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is your list that you listed in order by priority?
In rough order, but not exact order. So I'd go back here and I would say, for example, mailings and advertising might go down on the list, because there might be something that we'd go, toddler supplies are more important than a mailing. You ought to have your toddler room well equipped before you do a mailing. But in a general sense, I would say these three things: audio, video, projector, platform lighting. Those three are at the top of our list in terms of funding. And in fact, We've had somebody this week who has come and said, with that cluster in mind, which is a pretty big cluster, right? That's $120,000, $130,000. Somebody comes and we had somebody come this week who said, I'll match the first $20,000 that comes in toward that. So if you said that's something I want to give toward, this person who has asked to remain anonymous has said, I will match whatever comes in toward that. So if we can raise 20, we got $40,000 to start to tackle these things. That's probably what we're going to tackle first. And then coming down on the rest of these things, it'll be in a little more adjusted order. Sir.
It's a little unclear to me on the implications of not having those things. So audio, we're gonna have some speakers.
So
We're gonna have these speakers.
we'll take these speakers and this gear and this microphone and we'll go down and it'll work, but it won't sound great.
And will we use the cameras that we have now to record for Facebook, et cetera?
Well, we're wiring for that. We think these we got to test these cameras to see what the throw looks like. It's possible we would shut down video until we could get the cameras up there. I mean, I love having access to that, and I think it's a good outreach, and people are finding out about us through that. But it may be that we've got to have a season where we're not doing video.
Will we have audio at least?
We'll have audio. We can tape the sermons easily. Yeah, recordings easily. Tom.
Would that mean that we would have no live streaming?
Yes, if we didn't have video, we can't do live streaming.
And if you don't have lights, you don't even need to try to video.
Yeah, that's a good point. So if you don't have stage lighting, video would actually come after that.
Video's lousy, or I mean, if the audio's lousy,
Yeah.
do you live stream?
Right.
Can you even?
And one of the things that, I mean, these cameras that we use that have served us really well are standard definition cameras. The world has changed in the last 8 years since we bought those cameras, and so now we would want high def cameras that cost about $5,000 each to do that. We're wiring for placement of those cameras in the facility, but we're not buying the cameras till we got the money to buy the cameras. Okay? Yes, sir.
So I'm just curious, since we're down to parsing things, are we talking about a parking lot that's paved or just?
It'll be a paved parking lot. So the gravel parking lot that you saw is just the intermediate parking lot, but it'll be a fully paved, lined, landscaped parking lot. What? Lighted parking lot, yes.
The gravel is to show it's better than the mud pit that it was.
Yes. Yeah, the parking lot we got to meet the city code for the parking lot. And so we can't just do a gravel parking lot, and we have to have lights, and we have to have a number of trees around the parking lot by city regulation. Okay? Curtis.
Bob, when would you need the funds for the video projector to have it on the open day?
For audio, video, and projectors to have those ready on opening day, we're anticipating installing those. If we can do it on schedule, we'd install them in July. If somebody came to me and said, we can't give until September, but we'll give toward that, we'll float it. We'll find a way to float it. But ideally, we're going to be trying to raise $213,000 from you guys, from whoever else we can raise it from, get the word out. I don't know if there are people that you know who have a heart for new churches who'd want to give to what we're doing, or if you got friends or relatives who would say, yeah, when our daughter and son-in-law moved to New York, we donated money to the church that they started attending because we wanted our daughter and son-in-law to be in a good church. And so, yeah, here's some money for your church. You may have friends or relatives who would say, yeah, we want to help your church get up and get established, and we know you got needs, and we'd give to that. You can reach out to folks like that. Ideally, we'd like to raise as much of this as we can in the next 90 days because that'll green light some things for opening day as quickly as possible. But if we don't get it in the next 90 days, then we just move in stages. Tim.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention as well, I mean, we were aware of these things ahead of time, and you might say, then why did you start the project? Why didn't you wait until you had all of this? One of the things we considered was eliminating the wing with the classrooms, the larger classrooms, in an effort to have about $200,000 to $300,000 that then we could equip it well on the front end. But then in a year or 2 or 5 later that you want to add those, it costs 2 to 3 times as much to add. we just felt like it was being a best steward to go along on the building and a little short on some of the amenities. So if God grants us that opportunity to make that up and put all those amenities in, we'd love to do it. But just so you understand our thinking on that.
Eric?
I assume for regular giving, you don't want us to designate operations versus building.
I would say any check that we get that doesn't have any designation on it, we're going to apply toward the general fund. And by the way, we need, as Tim said, we need the general fund giving to stay where it is. So don't say, oh, here's what we'll do. We'll take our tithe and buy amenities, okay? Because that's not going to help us. So anything you'd want to do for the building fund would have to be over and above. And if you just said on your check or wrote a note and said, this is for the building fund, and if you want to say, and I'd have a heart for toddler supplies, you can write that in there along with your check, and we'll know that, and we'll try to take that into consideration as we apportion all of this. But I would hope, here's what we're doing. I would hope all of us would just pray and say, Lord, what can we do based on what we got? And then the next question is, and Lord, what might you give us that we weren't anticipating that we could put toward this project? I think if you start asking God to funnel money through you for the building, if that's your desire, you'll find that one of your relatives will die. And that, no, I didn't. That's not what I meant at all. I'm sorry. It's a good thing. If I only had this filter in place before I spoke, it would be so much better. But you might you might find a source of income that was unexpected, is what I meant to say. Okay?
So if we feel led by the Lord to double our weekly giving,
Yes.
and then we put down just 50-50 building operations.
Yes. We'll know what that means. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Well, these are budgets. They're not bids. So the budget is our, here's what we think that'll cost. We're not working against hard bids on these things. So it's not like if we have $5,000, we can buy computers and TVs because we got a list of computers and TVs we're going to buy. That's just a round number that we said we think we'll need about $5,000 to buy those TVs. Okay. Well, okay, so that's that bid. You noticed that, didn't you? That bid's a solid bid from DES, the company that we're working with. That is that we've already said yes. We signed the deal. In fact, is Randall still here? Where's Randall? Okay, so Randall has got a check for us today that we're sending out to them for $4,000 of that. That is for the wiring. So we're already investing in the wiring of that. The rest of that is for gear. And yeah, we got a hard bid on that, and we've signed on to that agreement on a phase 1, phase 2 basis, and we're not committed to phase 2 yet. Tom,
Platform lighting is a hard bid.
that 15,000, yeah, it's a rough number, but we do have a hard bid on there. 15.3 for the platform lighting, and that's I don't know that it matters, but that's both platform lighting and in-room lighting integrated. So that as we're controlling the platform and the presets, we're controlling both the stage lighting and the house lighting simultaneously. They're integrated together, so that's a nice thing.
Is Alexa going to control it?
Yeah, we can. Alexa, dim the lights. Tom,
Lighting throughout the building is all LED.
all LED lighting. So that's a cost. That's more money on the front end, cost savings on the other side of it. Matt.
Bob, is there anybody particularly running point that if, say, someone had a mower they wanted to get, or this example you talked about, that we should go through?
Is Tom our guy for that, Tim, or you? Tom. That's what I thought. Yeah.
I know you'd rather just probably have money so you guys can prioritize it.
Yeah, we're trying to funnel everything, just so Tom's on top of everything. We're trying to make sure that nobody's out cutting side deals that he's out of the loop on. So he'd be your guy to go to and say, let's talk about what we might be able to do for living room furnishings.
Bob, can we use Care Portal for any of these things?
That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. See if the other churches will pitch in on that. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Will you make at some point
A list.
instead of just like, I mean, I know this is a good list, but like, will you go ahead and make a list that this is what we're wanting to do
We'll talk about what we can do. I know, again, we have talked about these three being the top. What goes on beyond that? Some of that may be based on giving. It may be that some of those priorities come when people say, look, and this is the burden on my heart, and God says, okay, then that's your priority.
Is there a way to, like, maybe not every week, but in the newsletter, keep that updated as to where we're at? And
Yeah.
what needs have been met? And
Yeah, I can keep you posted on, we'll keep track of what's happening from a giving standpoint. And if there are specific gifts, people who've got a heart for this have asked to be able to fund this.
you're close on a certain area, we just need X more.
That's right. We can let you know things like that. And I will say playground, we're offering naming rights on the playground too. So if you want to pay for the playground, it can be. Yes, ma'am.
Are we getting a newer, bigger keyboard or a piano?
Yeah, so these are things that are not on the list that I'd love to see. We don't have plans for a piano. We're still planning to use this lousy little drum set. I agree. You want to buy a drum set? Okay. We have our new drum set. No, I mean, we want an acoustic drum set. It's not on the list. It's going to be one of those things. Yeah, we need a projector before we get the nice drum set. And we can function with this. I'd love to have a grand piano in there. Grand piano is about $35,000 for an inexpensive one, I think. So if the Lord lays that on your heart, if you want that and you want to start doing piano lessons at our church on our grand piano, we can. Yes, we can do naming rights on the piano. Yes, there is space for a grand piano on the platform. Yes.
Is there already a contract with the company for the service protection?
For alarm service? We don't have a contract yet on that, do we? We do, okay. There you go. It's done.
Do you mean ongoing?
For the monitoring? Yeah, we don't have a monitoring contract yet. Right. Okay. If there's somebody you want to recommend we check out, we're happy to check them out.
What about, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
videos and projectors?
What are you asking?
Is there already a concrete bid?
On the videos and projectors, yes, there's a concrete bid. On the platform lighting, there's a concrete bid. The audio, we've got our guy, and that's his rough approximation, but we don't have a concrete bid there. Computers and TVs, that's just a rough budget number, and we don't have anything contracted for that yet. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a little confused because you said you would like for people to give. However, we have naming rights and we also
I'm kidding on naming rights. I'm being facetious with that.
That's what I'm just saying, like if someone wants to fund the playground,
If somebody wants to fund the playground, if you said today, let's figure out what it costs and we'll fund that. I'd say, okay, great. We'll figure out what it costs. What we can't do legally is have you say this check is contingent on that. So you would give to the building fund. We would know that that's what your desire is, and that would move up the priority list for us.
what I was kind of confused by.
Yes.
Like, so
Yes.
Speaking of the monitoring system and the security system, can you describe where in the budget or how does egress to the building and the property? Is this open access build, parking lots and buildings from the street? I'm just curious about that entrance.
Yeah.
If there's is it locked up?
We're planning a locked gate at the driveway. Is that right, Tom?
There is no plan, no budget for that.
Okay, no budget for a gate. So parking lot's open, so people can get onto the parking lot. Front door is a magnetic lock, right?
Yes, but it'll have keys that can also be opened electronically from the reception area.
Right.
A screen at the front entrance with an intercom on it that a secretary or whoever's in the building can talk to a person like FedEx or UPS. I'm done.
Got it. Take the mic and he's done. So there'll be a front access that is a controlled entry with a magnetic with a button push. Everything else is a standard lock and key set for entrance into the building.
So I love hearing that Grant Ben or they're doing some work that's probably obviously saving us costs.
Yes.
When we look at some of these items like landscaping, we're putting up a fence for the playground.
Yes.
If someone is willing to donate the materials, are those things that we can get volunteers from the church to help out with?
Are you saying Tom says no on that?